It's easy to treat futurologists like prophets. You find a book or a lecture written decades ago that seems to predict the present with eerie accuracy, and suddenly the author looks less like a scholar and more like a seer. Neil Postman is definitely one of those figures. His "amusing ourselves to death" has been quoted endlessly as proof that he saw it all coming. He argued that the danger lay not in Orwell's Big Brother, but rather in Huxley's distractions. And on the surface, he was right. Our culture is built on entertainment, our politics are run by spectacle, and our attention is auctioned off every single second. But here's the thing, even in his prophetic prowess, Postman was also wrong about a great many things. For one, he believed that the personal computer would fade off into irrelevance, that it was overhyped, that it would not live up to expectations, which obviously turned out to be wrong. His understanding of future media technology itself was relatively surface level, as he was more concerned with the underlying systems rather than the technology itself. So he ended up making a lot of mistakes on that front. Other takes of his were outdated, I believe, even at the time of writing. For example, he had a firm belief that one should never step across party lines, that every election, regardless of how bad his party's candidates were, that you should never cross party lines and vote for the opposition, even if they provide a suitable, rational and competent candidate, which in my opinion is a recipe for disaster and the decline of democracy to the same degree that he would assign to the new media technology. It was a constriction of rational and logical capabilities, the same issues that he warned about. But my point is not to criticize him for not predicting the future 40, 50, 60 years ahead of his time. Being wrong on that front is actually natural. The real issue was his dismissal of other possibilities. He dismissed Orwell's Big Brother as outdated, when in reality we now live in the same system, just refurbished and adapted for our current conditions and technology. He was correct in predicting that the Western governments would not be able to expand their surveillance systems at the same pace as culture would. What he didn't predict was that new agents would rise in the absence of government surveillance. While the Ministry of Truth didn't come into reality, we have our own versions in Silicon Towers. Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, all of those collect more data on us than Orwell's Big Brother ever could. If he was wrong on so many levels, why do we still treat his work like scripture? Well, it's because of survivorship bias. We remember the predictions that came true and quietly ignore the ones that didn't. His prediction on the influence that entertainment would have on politics and education was dead on. However, so many other predictions were wrong. Leaving Postman aside, many people believed that by 2015 we would have flying cars. 2015 came and went, we're now a decade after, and flying cars are about as distant as they used to be. Survivorship bias is really difficult to get around, but by allowing it to work its magic, we turn thinkers into prophets and prophets into untouchable icons, which again limits our ability to think critically. The truth is, futurology is a messy business. Prediction is a moving target. Every model needs constant adjustment. Every work, even one as widely praised as Amusing Ourselves to Death, has blind spots, contradictions and errors. But that doesn't make the work useless. In fact, it makes it valuable. Because it reminds us that prophecy isn't what matters. What matters is the ongoing process of questioning, testing and refining our understanding of the future. We need to maintain and care for our critical thinking skills. The moment we rest on our laurels, the moment we stop updating our models because somebody else already figured it out, that's when we start stumbling into the very futures we try to avoid. Every thought, invention, or discovery should be carefully scrutinized and analyzed to make sure that our interpretation is as correct as possible, especially ones which are built on shaky ground, ones trying to build a case on limited information, small sample sizes, or ones where there are too many incentives to promote a certain outcome. In the book, Postman talks about his vision as something unassailable, but the reality is we should never take anything for granted, especially predictions about the future.